can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. We are back for another final prediction video. It's the main event this Saturday night. Anthony Yarde will challenge David Benavidez for the WBC World Light Heavyweight title in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Danny, good to be joined by you as always. We'll get straight into it. A few things I want to ask you. We're recording this video after the press conference, which I will touch on with you, but what is your final prediction for this one, please?
Yeah, David Benavidez, a massive favourite for this fight, and I can see why. He's on a very good run. The stoppages have dried up, but the performances, to my eye, have been very good. Whereas you contrast that with Anthony Yarde, and you're sort of, clutching at straws in your memory to remember the last really good, really solid Anthony Yarde performance. It probably was that valiant effort in defeat to Arthur Beterbiev. I think that said, the flaws in Anthony Yarde's game will play right into David Benavidez's hands. Anthony Yarde's gas tank has let him down on a couple of occasions in the past, and David Benavidez, anyone who's watched them will know he gets stronger as the fight goes on. And I think that fight will get really tough for Anthony Yarde after 5, 6 rounds. And I'm actually predicting David Benavidez to get him out of there somewhere around 8, 9 rounds. I just think the stamina, the work rate, the hand speed, and the skill. It's often not mentioned about David Benavidez. Very skilled fighter, very quick hands. His defense is improving by every fight. And I think this is going to be too much for Anthony Yarde on Saturday night.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Benavidez is he in his peak now? I think he possibly is. Whereas I don't think Yarde is. Yarde's 34 years old now, and as you said, haven't. It's been a while since that Benavidez that Beterbiev fight. That was nearly 3 years ago now, where he lost the fight, but was winning the fight, and the scorecards had his moments of success against Beterbiev, who at the time was seen as the best light heavyweight in the world. So yeah, I'm gonna go with you. However, I'm gonna go quite a bit earlier. I'm gonna go around 4 or 5. I just think Benavidez. You mentioned the stoppages have dried up a bit, but I don't like Yard's chances here. And after watching the press conference, this obviously before the weigh-in, but I just thought he looked dry, looked tight at the press conference, and I worry. We'll see if he does make weight at all. What did you think of his appearance at the press conference, Danny?
Yeah, he didn't look good, did he? And there had been rumblings on social media, and I'd heard from a couple of people on the ground that maybe Benavidez wasn't looking the best. But I've watched a few interviews with David Benavidez. He was really talkative, really engaging in multiple different interviews, and thought he definitely looked the better of the two at the press conference. And when you mentioned Anthony Yarde's age and not inactivity, but inactivity at a high level and with good performances, you wonder he's a big light heavyweight 2 yard, in muscle bound, and if he's had a tough weight cut for this one, his chances, decrease even more.
Yeah, and look, Yard been a pro for over 10 years now. Has always been a light heavyweight. He's a large man. He's someone who a few years ago you can imagine people were saying, "Oh, I'll move up to cruiserweight, maybe even heavyweight." He's got that sort of build. He's quite tall as well. He's over around 6 foot tall as well. So I'm a bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised he still is at light heavyweight. I'm surprised he's not given cruiserweight a go yet after all these years. But here we are. One question for you, Danny, a bit kind of left field. This is the main event on Saturday, whereas it's arguably the least competitive world title fight. Why do you what you might not be able to give any insight on this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Why do you think this is the main event because David Benavidez is a big star, because these are two big punchers, because Anthony Yarde's been in massive fights in the past? You do have kind of undefeated Brian Norton, Devin Haney Jr., Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes, who are both undefeated and two big punchers. Why do you think this is the main event on Saturday?
It's a good question. I think David Benavidez is the biggest star on the show. He's headlined pay-per-views as the A side, as the standalone A side. Really, the Morrell fight was a pay-per-view. Morrell's not a big name, so he carried that pay-per-view off his own back. You would say Devin Haney, probably the one who runs him closest, but Devin Haney not coming off a loss, but coming off the Ryan Garcia fight and a less than convincing performance against Jose Ramirez after that. And another thing, David Benavidez fights are always entertaining, whereas Devin Haney fights aren't. You could make a case Bam Rodriguez is actually the best fighter in the card, but being at super flyweight, it's never going to headline. When you've got a light heavyweight world title fight and a welterweight world title fight. But I know what you're saying. On paper, you could make a very strong case that it is the least competitive fight, although maybe Anthony Yarde surprise us. But I think David Benavidez' star power, he's brings in that Mexican American, Mexican fan base. I think I can see why he's headlining. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Benavidez, 28 years old now. It's been around for a little while. 30-0, expected to go 31-0, and yeah, could possibly be kind of one of the faces of boxing over the next few years. Final question, Danny. Need to mention the state of the at the top of the light heavyweight division at the moment. Don't seem to know what's happening with Bivol and Beterbiev. Now, we don't know if the trilogy's on, if it's off. How do you see things developing over the next 3 to 6 months at the top of the light heavyweight division, and where does David Benavidez fit into all of that?
Well, your guess is as good as mine with regards to the Bivol Beterbiev situation. That trilogy fight's been a mess.
Yeah.
Bivol's been recovering from an injury, but there's been very public displays of displeasure from Beterbiev and his team on social media. He's also parted ways with Top Rank, so not sure what his promotional situation is. But I've noticed in David Benavidez interviews recently, there's more and more mention of that move up to cruiserweight, and particularly a fight with Zurdo Ramirez. And I think if he doesn't get a fight with Bivol or Beterbiev next, I think he will move up. I think light heavyweight is becoming a tough cup for him. He was a ridiculously big super middleweight, 7 pounds. It will have helped, but as he's got older, being at light heavyweight, coming up to a year and a half, be 2 years next year, that could quickly become as tough as super middleweight is. And I think if he doesn't get a very strong indication that a fight against one of the two other big boys is to materialize, I think he'll move up and fight Zurdo before too long.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think I agree with that. And you just question David Benavidez has done enough waiting around in his career. I don't think you should be waiting around for the winner of a trilogy, which that trilogy, if it does happen, might not happen until March, April time, and therefore kind of you could be fighting the winner this time next year, really. And I don't think he should do that. And you also question kind of what big appealing fights are there else for him at light heavyweight. But we'll see. Has to get past Anthony Yarde first. This is Anthony Yarde's. It's probably his last chance to be a world
Probably.
champion. Yeah,
Probably.
so big. I would love to see Yarde pull it off. By the way, Lions in the camp. I would love to see. I would love to see him. I would love to see him and Tunde do it. But me and you are predicting that he doesn't. Danny, thank you both. Thank you very much for your time. I'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, mate.